One Piece chapter 970. So this is a really good chapter, kind of like a redemption from the previous one, which I suppose left a bad taste in a few people's mouths. So in kind of a surprise, Kaido was able to meet Oden and his scabbards like halfway before they were able to just get the jump on them. And this is where Kaido is straight up confirming that they do in fact have a traitor, which I think is the first time that this is ever really said, as far as I know, at least in this arc. And as for who the traitor could be, it's still up in the air. This chapter is either kind of proving that it's not Shinobu or is proving that it's Shinobu. Not really sure. I like to think that it's not. And by the way, Shinobu in her youth, one of the best girls in One Piece by far. But also at the same time, I think it could be Toki. That's like kind of like a new, kind of popular-ish theory that's been thrown around. Is that, Toki might be Hiyori or something like that, or maybe Toki sent herself into the future. I don't know. She's kind of acting weird in this chapter. And if we look at that one panel when it's like Oden may be defeated and we see her kind of like smirking or something, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but also if we go back to the previous chapter, Oda purposely shows us that she has a scar on her thigh. Now, of course, it's confirming that damage was done to her to evoke emotion from Oden, but at the same time, it might be like, hey, look at this. Remember that she has a scar there because we might see a character currently in this arc have a similar scar, possibly. I don't want to go too much into traitor hypothesis theory stuff because the chapter's about Oden versus Kaido, so we're gonna, talk about that. So also, it's kind of confirmed one way or another by Kaido what exactly the deal between Oden and Orochi was with the whole 5-year dancing thing. So he doesn't outright say what it is, but we kind of assumed it was to protect people of Curry and, mitigate casualties and stuff like that because Kaido's like, yeah, you're very similar to Whitebeard and Roger. You're both ultra powerful dudes, but you kind of have soft sides. Like, if it was like you back in the day, or at least the legend of you, where you were kind of like a psycho, you wouldn't have cared about casualties, and maybe things would have went different at that point. So I guess that's like, yeah, Oden didn't try to usurp Kaido and Orochi because it was just said that, Kaido would just blow away Curry. He would just nuke them with his fruit powers, or alleged fruit powers at that point. So he's kind of being selfless and just for 5 years, played the dancing fool to ensure that everybody was safe. But at the same time, we're also getting an explanation as to the whole 5-year gap thing and waiting for Kaido and Orochi to make their move, because apparently 5 years ago, Kaido's forces weren't exactly where they needed to be. He says that he was like short on men, and that also like if Oden were to team up with Hyogoro and the rest of the Yakuza and the rest of the samurai, then it would have basically been a battle that they couldn't have won at that point. So that's why he waited the 5 years, slowly taking over Hyogoro as well as the rest of the Yakuza, as we saw in the previous chapter, as well as building up his beast pirate army. And also we get a good look at how like extremely lopsided this battle is, because it's like 11 of them, scabbards, Oden and Shinobu versus 1,000 of Kaido and the rest of them. So it's crazy, but also it's kind of like, I don't know, not too bad at the same time, because, the scabbards are extremely powerful. I mean, even like the beast pirates are like, oh my god, aren't those the samurais? Those guys are too powerful. So it's kind of making up for the difference here. I also would like to think that, Oden probably took care of like hundreds of these dudes by himself, because we see him blasting through like multiple of them just in that one panel, and he has like Conqueror's lightning coming off of him. So he's probably the strongest dude on this battlefield right now. And also, like they say, like Oden's endurance far exceeded what the enemies imagined. So he was just going ham on them, and he just wasn't getting tired. And he was just consistently staying at the same level of power, probably not weakening at all. At least that's what I'm taking from this. And that brings us to Oden versus Kaido, which is pretty satisfying. And of course, we're finally seeing him give that X-shaped scar to Kaido, which we knew this whole entire time. That's, the reason why he had it. And he gave it to him while he was in his dragon form. And I'm going to go more into that in a little bit. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that Oden is stronger than Kaido. At least, like currently at this battle 20 years ago, because he slices him. Everyone's shocked by it. Kaido falls to the ground, and then Oden's just immediately following up on him And he basically, I mean, before this, he says that he's going to cut his head off. So I assume that's what he's going to do after this. And it really does seem like Kaido is about to die here, or at least just straight up be defeated. Not really sure how much killing intent Oden has at this point. Probably a lot. I don't think he's lying about cutting off his head. So he's probably trying to go for the killing blow here. But I don't think there's too much time left for Kaido at this point in the battle, because just this one Togen Totsuka is like leveling him. Obviously more so than what we've ever seen. So, I don't know, maybe he was going to get up and they were going to keep fighting. I don't know. It just doesn't look good for Kaido in this sequence right here. And I think probably that's what Oda wanted us to think. Like, okay, so Oden was ridiculously powerful. Now, this doesn't mean that Kaido is weak or is even currently weak or weaker than what we thought. So we have to remember that Kaido wasn't always powerful. Yeah, he was always kind of freaky, you know, super durable and nigh impervious and everything like that, but definitely not on the level of Oden, because Oden, also born, you know, a savage freak, was already powerful through his training in Wano and whatever else, and, you know, his inherent potential and everything like that. But also, you know, he traveled the entire you know, Grand Line with both Whitebeard and Roger. So obviously he became significantly more powerful during that time, and it's confirmed. I think like 2 chapters back when he returns to Wano, it says that when he returned, he was way more powerful, or I'm paraphrasing here, but he was more powerful than what he was previously. So he's like, I don't know, Yonko right hand right at this point. Maybe like around Rayleigh, somewhere around there, I'm assuming, in power. So he's ridiculously powerful. And Kaido is pretty strong, but he's definitely not in his prime or at the peak of his power at this point. Because, you know, we also have to remember when Kaido was first introduced, they lay it out right there. They're like, since becoming a pirate, he had been defeated 7 times and captured 18 times by the Marines and I think emperors as well. And, you know, he was repeatedly tortured and given the death sentence 40 times, but no method of execution was effective on him. And Kaido like sank 9 prison ships and all that stuff. So I guess this is like part of that story that they were, you know, dropping all of that exposition on Kaido. Like he wasn't at his peak right now is what I'm saying. And also, like, he was a part of Rox's crew, that is true, but he wasn't like a commander or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say that he was an apprentice on Rox's crew. And I think Oda might have said that Kaido was like in the same generation as Shanks, and I think that he's probably older than Shanks. So Shanks is like 39 right now, so I don't know, just taking a guess, Kaido's maybe like close to his 50s or something like that. I think he's probably younger than Big Mom, just taking a guess. But they're just giving you like a frame of reference of where he is, because he's definitely not in like the Whitebeard, Roger, and even Garp like generation of power. He's more so like, you know, Shanks, or maybe in between Shanks and Roger's era. But regardless, he wasn't a Yonko at that time either, so he's much more powerful right now. And like I was talking about with his Zoan form, the dragon form that we see, I think it's purposely left this way because we have yet to see his hybrid form, which obviously we're going to see him once he gets into the nitty-gritty against Luffy or whoever else he's going to be fighting, because that's where the full potential of the Zoans come out, when they go into like their hybrid, you know, where they're like in their anthropomorphic beast form. And that's going to be awesome just from an aesthetic standpoint, but his power is going to be at his peak. So, you know, that's obviously Oda not showing his full power here, but still I do think that Oden was probably going to take him out. And then we come to the end of the battle when we see Higurashi impersonating Momo, and then of course that distracts Oden, and then Kaido gives him a whack behind the head, and that pretty much puts him down and out. And yeah, I don't think this means that Oden is weak because he was taken out by that. I mean, it's friggin' Kaido. He was still extremely powerful at that point. Oden's guard is down, probably doesn't have Haki up. You know, he's concerned about Momo, and he gets cracked, you know, with his club, and we saw how powerful that was. So yeah, it's understandable that this put him out. And also at the same time, we kind of see Kaido, like, I don't know, befuddled, like kind of shocked by seeing that. So I don't think he was happy about that. Maybe Kaido like wanted to have a fair fight against Oden, and he wasn't really on board with Higurashi, you know, kind of like using that trick for Kaido to win. But, you know, Kaido took the victory nonetheless because he kind of had to. And then we come to the end of the chapter with Oden and the rest of the Scabbards being in prison. And it's confirmed that he is definitely going to be boiled alive, which we all assumed was probably going to happen because, like, in Zoe, when we get that flashback voiceover of Oden, he's like, I'm Oden, I was born to boil. So I guess that was kind of confirming that, yeah, he was definitely going to be boiled alive. And as for the scabbards, they're going to get away from this because, you know, obviously they were all sent in time, or a lot of them were sent 20 years into the future by Toki. And it's said that at some point... to Oden's castle with her. So at some point, they're going to get out of this, go reunite with Toki, and then Orochi's going to send some dudes to burn that place down, and then we're going to get the whole time sequence. And then maybe we'll get more insight into what exactly was going on with Toki, possibly, but that's pretty much it for the review today, guys. Let me know what you think about Kaido versus Oden. Let me know what you think about the traitor And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next